Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our weekly Healthy Harrison podcast, a show designed to help change your state, help change our state, build a healthier West Virginia, and design and engineer a healthier local community as well. I'm Gary Bowden, and our co-host each week is Amy Haberbosch Wilson. She's the executive director of the Harrison County Economic Development Corporation and vice president of Healthy Harrison. I elevated your title last time, Amy, but welcome back after your travels out west. And you were just telling us about the, 100, how many above 100 temperature?
It was 118, yes, the day that we left. So yeah, it was a little too hot. Nice, great vacation, but a little too hot for me.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a little too hot for anybody, Amy. We're streaming our program live on the Healthy Harrison Facebook page, as well as the statewide distribution network of our media partner, wvnews.com. Every week at this time, we chat with individuals who are invested and focused on the same mission as Healthy Harrison, that being to measurably improve the health and well-being of the citizens of North Central West Virginia, particularly here in Harrison County, hence our name, Healthy Harrison. Today, we're going to be chatting with two of the principals involved with the Cecil Jarvis Greater Clarksburg 10K. Brian Jarvis and Carl Hatfield will be joining us. I'll introduce them in a second. We want to talk to them because the race is coming up. And also this is the 25th anniversary of the Clarksburg 10K. Brian is president and owner of WV News. As I mentioned a moment ago, I think I mentioned it. If I didn't, I'm going to mention it now. They are a sponsor of the Healthy Harrison podcast. Brian, in addition, owns several newspapers, primarily here in North Central West Virginia, one statewide publication, the State Journal. Brian's also a lawyer, and he has interests in the oil and gas business. And he's joining us today from the family spread somewhere in Harrison. I believe it's in Harrison County, right, Brian?
No, I'm actually at the homestead down in Virginia right now.
Yeah. I thought
no, not like my homestead at home.
Your homestead. You mean?
Yeah, I'm actually
homestead.
down there. Yeah, we're down here with a family event.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Also with us today is Carl Hatfield. Most people around Clarksburg and frankly the state of West Virginia know Carl. He's a former All-America runner at West Virginia University, and he's a member of the WVU Sports Hall of Fame. He's been race director of the Clarksburg 10K all of its 25 years. Carl, thanks for joining us. Good to see you.
Thank you for the nice introduction.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
And welcome. Now I started second guessing myself. I'll throw this at you, Carl. We are virtual again this year. Is that correct?
That is correct. This is the second year that we have been virtual. The reason our race committee decided to go virtual is our planning for each year's race begins back in October and November of last year. And we finally made a decision along about January and February. And at that point in time, we decided to go virtual. Next year, hopefully, fingers crossed, we will be back. And because we had planned on doing a really big race this year, our 25th anniversary, we're going to call next year 25+1. So next year we will be back on the streets in Clarksburg.
Hey Carl, the obvious question when we talk about a virtual 10K is, how do you run a virtual 10K? So explain a little bit about how the race will occur again this year.
Oh, each runner can actually run either the 10K or the 2 mile at their own location. They don't necessarily have to come down to Clarksburg and run the original certified race course. And so after each runner registers online, and you can register up until July or June the 26th, I mean, and some runners have actually already registered and run their 10K or their 2 mile.
Okay.
And you send in your results to our website, and later on in July, you will receive your finisher medal and your t-shirt. It will be mailed to you at your address that you post when you sign up.
So because you're letting people run a 10K course of your choosing, the race can still accommodate runners from all over the country and all over the world.
That's correct.
Okay.
And last year, we did have runners that ran virtual, and they ran their race in, Pittsburgh, Williamsburg, Virginia, Columbus, Ohio. We had runners from numerous states and mostly West Virginia runners.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but next year we hope everybody can come back to Clarksburg.
Right.
I'd like to hear either Brian or Carl, the history. Take us back to how this all began.
I'll jump in, Brian.
Please do, Carl. You got it.
I'm the historian as well as the race director.
There we go.
Yes, yes, sir.
And in the fall of 1996, my wife, Georgia Hatfield, had been following me around to all these different races in Pittsburgh and Washington, D.C. and Charleston, West Virginia and Parkersburg. And she said, we need to have a very nice race in Clarksburg, because Georgia and I lived in Clarksburg at that time. Right now I live in Bridgeport, but I told her that I had spotted a local banker and a couple of his friends named Cecil Jarvis and John Ebert running in local road races. And I was kind of surprised that these guys were running in some of our local road races in Morgantown and here in Bridgeport and Clarksburg. And so she said, I'm going to contact Larry Mazza. He was president of the bank in downtown Clarksburg at that point in time, and try to get him to be one of our sponsors. And so she did. And Larry really took the bull by the horn, and he went out and got a number of other main sponsors, particularly Cecil Jarvis.
Right.
And so we formed a race committee of local organizers and track coaches and people like Joe Gonzalez and Pete Bowie and Fred Smart, who was in charge of the emergency powers here in Harrison County. And so we spent roughly 8 or 9 months putting the race together. And our first year was the first Saturday in August of 1997. And the race was hugely successful. In fact, we had over 900 runners just in the 10K for the first year. And after that, we kind of had a footprint as to how to follow. But since then, over the years, we added a 2-mile race, and I added the Kids K run. And all of the fast times for men and women in the 10-kilometer race are set. All the state records are all set in Clarksburg because of the quality of the runners that we brought in, and Our race course is not that easy, but you know, we wanted to keep it in downtown Clarksburg because the city of Clarksburg has been very cooperative and helping us with traffic control and providing us police officers, and the fire department has let us use their building as the registration center point. And it's worked out really well. We've received tremendous publicity. Our race for about 6 years was on ESPN TV every year. And like I said, the first race was the first weekend in August. And since then, we've moved the race back to Father's Day weekend in June, simply because to avoid other national races and to avoid the heat. And, you know, in June, we still sometimes get hot weather, but it's generally a little bit cooler for the runners to run in June. And we can catch the high school kids in the 2 miles, especially right after they've finished their state high school track meet. And so it's been a very successful race.
Well, that's great. I'll be the first to say that it's a huge economic boost to any community. After living in Columbus, Ohio, and Phoenix, Arizona, and now here, it's definitely something to promote, and it's great for a community. So
let's get Brian in here. We're talking about Healthy Harrison, and he looks like he's on a little walk at the homestead, getting his exercise.
Yeah, trying to find my wife and the baby.
Carl mentioned that we in all likelihood wouldn't have had 25 successful years without the backing of the community. So let me throw that one to you. How and why is this so valuable to the community, and why have you seen fit to become a part of it?
Well, of course, it got named in honor of my father, which of course is a piece of my heart. He was such an avid runner and biker and swimmer. He completed 5 triathlons, Ironman triathlons, and that's a 26-mile run, like 112-mile bike or something, and 3-mile swim. So he was very athletic, and I've always kind of been athletic too, and our family's always been, you know, interested in staying healthy. So we've always felt it was important to keep the race, keep sponsoring the race for the future, and try to get to, you know, 100 years.
You and the race, you as a principal in helping keep it going, the race itself has been very reliant on other businesses in the community, in addition to the ones you're connected with. Do you find that it's easy to keep these partners engaged with this race?
I think it is, just because most of the partners are, well, of course, they love the area we're in, but they're also athletic themselves. So I think they really want to try to do everything they can to promote healthcare in the area. Yeah.
Carl mentioned Larry Mazza with, I'm drawing a blank on his bank, MVB Bank, right? And John Ebert with McDonald's. Who are some of the other sponsors, correct, Brian? Or is that one we need to toss back to Carl?
Yeah, Carl might know more of them, but we do McDonald's, MVB Bank. Who else is there, Carl? You might know more.
Well, of course, the Clarksburg Exponent Telegram, WBOY TV, gives us nice publicity for a regional area, and at different times over the years, United Hospital Center has helped us tremendously, and particularly with having the medical tent at the finish line, which is important on certain hot days of the year. And without the sponsors, we couldn't have a race. But in return, our race has elevated the city of Clarksburg to the upper stratus, you might say, of the world of road racing in the United States. There were a couple of years when the Clarksburg 10K was the second rated 10-kilometer race in the United States. And we're talking about, we were going up against big cities like Atlanta, Georgia has the Peachtree race, the 10-kilometer Peachtree race every year on July the 4th. And just all of a sudden, the little town of Clarksburg was rated the second highest rating in the country for the 10 kilometers. And plus, like I said, for 6 years in a row, we were on ESPN TV, a half-hour show that was every year that we had the Clarksburg 10K. ESPN, on a show called Running and Racing, presented the Clarksburg 10K. They would send 2 cameramen down, one to cover the women's race, one to cover the men's race. And we were in a national spotlight. So we were able to generate that kind of publicity for the city of Clarksburg.
Which is great.
We couldn't do it without the sponsors.
Right. No, it's great. And throughout the years, if you do a search on marathons, races, what they used to be, it's taken it's kind of morphed into something that really includes everybody. I mean, it used to be that if anyone's going to run a marathon, you had to be a certain type of person, certain age. Now it seems that it takes all ages, all conditions. It's on a bucket list, of course, for people. But if you run, walk, it's really for everyone. Is that still the same, or have you seen a transition over the years similar?
The transition that I have seen, I've been in running for 57 years. And back when I was younger and doing very well in running, it was a male-dominated sport. But the thing that's happening nowadays is you see more women running in road races than men. And the Boston Marathon is the best example. I ran my first Boston Marathon in 1972, and that was the first year that women were officially allowed to run the Boston Marathon. They had 5 women in 1972. The past years, they've had as many as 30,000 runners qualified to run the Boston Marathon. And the last time that they did it, big deal time, there was something like 18,000 women and 12,000 men. So you can see it has changed considerably. And it seems like there's more women that are, seeking personal physical fitness levels than men. But we're still getting big numbers. In a sense, the United States is in its second running boom, you might say, because some of these races, big city marathons like Chicago and the New York City Marathon, are having close to 50,000 runners qualify.
Wow.
So it's actually a big city event. Now, Clarksburg's not a big city population-wise, and West Virginia is not a big population-wise city, but it's good that there's more and more races, 5K races set up for charity runs and that kind of thing, because these kind of events do promote physical fitness, and they do promote camaraderie, and people generally feel better after they get into an exercise program.
Yeah, I wanted to bounce back to Brian for this one, because his company WV News is is a sponsor not only of the race, or his, companies are involved in the race, but he also is a big sponsor of Healthy Harrison. And as we mentioned at the outset, the mission of Healthy Harrison is to engage that entire community. You don't have to be an elite runner, a 10K, 2 miler, whatever it is, to participate. Brian, in actuality, if we can keep him here, if not, we'll toss this question back to Carl. But I wanted the Clarksburg 10K was way ahead of the Healthy Harrison organization, because you were trying to find ways to involve the whole community in exercise and fitness long before we took up this mission.
Oh yeah, no, it's we were, but with the combination, the reason why we want to support it all is because we know combined there's going to be the 10K is just one day in time. We do the 10 weeks of the 10K so people can prepare and know how to train for it. But the nice thing with Healthy Harrison is it's 365 days a year. So everybody can, be engaged with the Healthy Harrison model, and the 10K, the Clarksburg 10K is one. The Fallen Heroes 5K, all these things kind of play a piece into Healthy Harrison. So we like supporting them all.
And as Carl mentioned, that several years ago, they added the youth races where they have several different age categories, and that gets mom and dad out, into the community, seeing what's going on, and it gets the kids started at an early age.
It absolutely does. And, when Carl got the Kids K added and the 2 mile, the 2 mile is kind of fun because, a lot of the teenagers that just can fly, they love that race because they're going, 5-6 minute miles around that thing. And it's fun watching them run at full speed for 2 miles.
Well,
that's
the
what's
other
nice.
thing,
There's something for everyone.
Yeah, Brian, the other thing that connects, and I'll jump back to Amy, the other thing that connects well with the community, in addition to having the opportunity for the kids, is we need to make sure we address the fact that, yeah, we call it a race, and a lot of these events throughout the year are called races, but we certainly invite folks that are just beginning their fitness program who are walkers to participate as well, right?
Absolutely. No, the coolest thing about it is for anybody, that if you can't even walk that well, people just they limp around that thing. It's fun, because everybody wants to get out and do it. So even if you do have a hurt knee or bum something, it's fun for everybody because there's at least a race for everybody, as Amy said.
Yeah, something to mark off the bucket list, no matter who you are, what age or what condition you're in. I keep saying that, but it does take all body types. What have you seen, either one of you, over the last 25 years as far as a transition? And bring it back home as far as this race specifically. Changes that you've seen from day one, 10 years in to where we are now. Participation level, is it up? Is it down? Do you have a hard time getting people to even join?
Carl could probably take that one.
Well, I've noticed two differences, say over the 25 years. Number one is we do have a smaller number of runners that are willing to run the 10 kilometers, but more runners are willing to try the 2 mile. The 2 mile race course that we mapped out is relatively flat. It's downtown Clarksburg, and you don't have to go up and down the hills on Main Street and Pike Street in Clarksburg in the 10, like you do in the 10 kilometers. So that's one difference. We're having more trouble getting 10 kilometer runners out. The second observation is kind of tied in with the first observation, and that is that we seem to have more recreational runners nowadays than we do serious runners back when we first started. It seems like, well, I think what it is people have more options for physical fitness. There's more gyms open, there's more swimming areas open. more people are trying bicycle riding than jogging. For a lot of people, jogging or running is a lot harder than riding a bicycle
It's
or walking.
not the exercise of choice for many people, correct?
Right.
Carl? Yeah.
But once you see people get hooked on jogging, they begin to realize that jogging or running is probably one of the easiest ways to lose weight, to get your weight under control. And as people get closer to middle age or get older, they tend to be a little bit more overweight than the younger people. But I'm one of those lucky people. I guess I found running a long time ago, and it was a sport that I could excel at, and so I'm totally hooked. I'm addicted.
Let me break in real quick because I failed to. We talked about some of the sponsors of the Greater Clarksburg 10K. I failed to mention some of the sponsors that help us bring this podcast to folks every Friday. They are WVU Medicine United Hospital Center, the State Journal, West Virginia University, WVNews.com, and Interaction Media. Back on the track you were on, Carl, and Brian can jump in if he wants to, because Brian, I think, mentioned it briefly. Explain to folks the preparatory program that you have, the 10 weeks to the 10K, because that is what Healthy Harrison focuses on, is trying to present exercise in a new way to people that maybe haven't been doing enough of it. We can kind of work you up into that 10K, correct?
Yeah, the cool thing about the 10 weeks of the 10K is we've got a speaker every week, talk to you kind of how to train, how to prepare. And of course, Carl knows all this stuff. He's probably the best speaker that there is. But it really helps you get prepared for the 10K or the 2 mile, whatever you're going to be doing. But really figuring out if you want to run 6.2 miles. I mean, it's a long distance. I'm one of those folks that used to run the 10K, and I went down to the 2 mile myself. I just, it is not that easy to get around 6.2 miles for me either. So the 10 weeks of 10K really helps you prepare if you're wanting to do that. And you get good speakers, good training. You go out, you run the race, you run half of it, and you kind of just get yourself prepared. And by the week before the 10K, you run the whole thing and get prepared for it.
Where do you sign up for this?
Anybody can join. I think this year they're all done on Zoom anyways. But do you know more about that, Carl? How people sign up for
it? The 10 weeks to the 10K was an event that we stole from the Parkersburg Half Marathon. And what it involved was we started 10 weeks before the 10K, and we would meet live and in person down near the starting line. One of the churches down there allowed us to use one of their Bible study rooms, and we would have live in-person speakers every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, and we would have a short presentation of, say, 10 or 15 minutes, and then the runners would break out into training groups and get out on the race course in downtown Clarksburg and actually jog anywhere from 2 miles to 6 miles. And we did that for 10 weeks leading up to the 10K race. That's why we called it the 10 weeks to the 10K. My wife and I, Georgia, she and I were the original organizers of that, and we would meet every Tuesday night. But then we let Valerie Dunleavy take it over, and now it's Lee and Martha Gustafson. So they are doing it Zoom, and we're already through the 10 weeks to the 10K this year. But next year we're going to go back to live and in person and having like coaches to help a different group of runners each week.
That's
And,
right on our list. Is there a cost for this or?
No, there's no cost. All you have to do is show up on Tuesday nights at 6 o'clock.
See, that's
at the-
amazing. Amazing to get out there that any of this is available, which is great.
We generally had anywhere from 20 to 40 people show up every Tuesday night. And they would all come and you know, they would get a bunch of freebies that were different, like free t-shirts and free water bottles and other things from our sponsors. That's in addition to what they would get for registering for our race, which, you know, is now the Saturday before Father's Day each year.
Well, I think it shows the importance of Healthy Harrison being a partner with the Clarksburg 10K, because it's not just, again, elite runners competing in that 10K. It's all the other elements of your event, the shorter races, the kids races, the 10 weeks to the 10K. That makes it a real community event, and it makes an opportunity for people to enter into a fitness program in a very safe fashion.
Right. It's more achievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is true. And one of the really neat things is there are some people out there who started running in the kids K when they were 4 and 5 years old. And then when they got up into junior high and high school age, they jumped over into the 2 mile. And now that they're into their 20s, they're actually running the 10K. So it was like a step ladder of training for them, but we started them off in the little kids K runs.
Carl, let me tie something back to Healthy Harrison. One of the big focuses for us right now is the battle against obesity, which is a problem locally and certainly statewide. Do you have examples of people that have started out in the Clarksburg 10K program and have lost weight over the years, have seen their fitness level change dramatically over the year? Can you cite some examples?
Well,
you don't have to name names
no,
necessarily.
I'm not going to name names, but I do know of one local guy, and I'll tell you, he's the chairman or president of the West Virginia Board of Directors. So you might know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And he was a friend of Larry Mazza's, and Larry talked him into training, and he was getting a look. I mean, he's a big guy to begin with. He's more of a football player than a skinny runner like me. And Larry got David into jogging a little bit. I mean, he was getting a little bit overweight, and he was still a young guy, you know. And so in the course of about 8 or 9 months, David went from not being able to run around the block in Clarksburg to he lost about 90 pounds in the space of about 9 months, and actually finished the very first Clarksburg 10K. I mean, he was pretty far back in the pack, but I mean, he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And so you kind of know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I think that's the last time he did that.
Yeah.
He went back to playing golf.
Yeah.
But he's the best example of a guy who latched onto slow jogging, and he worked his way up, and he actually lost a lot of weight.
We're getting a little close on time. Let me jump back to Brian. who was starting to wear me out, looks like he's finally found a place to to rest. And I'm going to ask a question that I know is near and dear to Amy, because events, well, organizations like Healthy Harrison, events like the Clarksburg 10K are what get businesses interested in relocating to a community. I believe that's correct, isn't it, Amy? That
It is, yes.
uh,
It falls in
certainly,
with quality of life and what they're
yeah,
looking for. They want to see
yeah.
events like this that
So
are close to
as
home.
we get ready to wrap up, Brian, uh, how do you see the future of the 10K? You're a big businessman here. How do you see the future of the 10K and Healthy Harrison, and how it frankly presents a more valuable picture for anybody looking to start a business here?
Yeah, no, I think it's great 'cause when people, we all want healthy employees. We want people that'll have longevity with our companies and things like that. So when you come into a town and you see that there actually is a program that's built for this type of thing, I mean, the Healthy Harrison program, it can get into businesses and really help you encourage your employees to do more and run the 10K. Like for instance, 3 or 4 years ago, we had about 26 employees run the 10K. Or 2 mile or the 10K, not the 10K, but some of them did the 10K, but most of them did the 2 mile. But that's just one of those things, and they all got out there, they got engaged. Some people walked around it, took them, an hour and a half. They did the 10K and they walked it. It was really cool to see because people wanted to get engaged with it, and businesses, that's the reason why they'll come and be involved in not only moving to our communities, but programs like this make it so you also can have healthy families too, let alone employees. Because one of my big goals is to make sure that my family has a healthy lifestyle too.
Amy, anything you want to conclude with?
Well, maybe the dates of when this is, and the times. How do they get involved? How do they watch it?
Well, since this year's virtual, we're allowing the runners to do their own virtual race. And so that's not much of a spectator event. But next year, we plan on doing our event the Saturday before the Father's Day event, and that'll be in June 2022. And we'll open up registration next year in March of 2022. And we have a mailing list. We'll send out an entry blank, a live actual paper entry blank, to approximately 1,000 people that have run the race before. We do have a group of about 15 people who have run every single Clarksburg 10K. And we will honor them next year in a banquet also.
Oh, that's great. It's not that far off. When you think of March, it's if you're training for something that big, that's not too soon to start.
Well, it is the state championship for West Virginia. The athletic organization for track and field is called the West Virginia USATF. And so our race is the 10K championship. It's a certified race course, and we offer prize money.
Well, I think from Healthy Harrison's perspective, the fact that you've moved it to that Father's Day weekend makes it a great connection too, because that's all about family, or it's supposed to be all about family. And that's a great way to bring some families together and give them an opportunity to do something together on that weekend.
We do offer prizes for father-son, father-daughter teams.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're out of time. Golly, we're going to look forward to next year in 25 years plus one, Carl. I like that. You're 25+1 anniversary will be next year. But our thanks today to Brian Jarvis, who both personally and with his various companies is very supportive of the Clarksburg 10K and also of Healthy Harrison, and also of the Healthy Harrison podcast brought to you each week at this time. Brian, thanks so much.
Hey, thank you all.
And Carl,
Thank
we can't thank you enough for taking your great career in running all your achievements at West Virginia University and representing the state. We thank you for 25 years of kind of holding this event together. It's been great for the community, and as you've pointed out, it's put Clarksburg on the map. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you for inviting me, and I hope that maybe we can do this again next year, maybe in April or May of next year.
If we're still doing podcasts, we'll make it happen.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah. And we
Thank
want to
you
thank
both.
all of you for joining us both today and each week. It's Healthy Harrison's goal to change your state of mind and ultimately change the state of health, again, both here and throughout the state of West Virginia. If you want more help right now, you can find a lot of it by visiting the healthyharrison.org Facebook page, or frankly, the healthyharrison.org website or Healthy Harrison Facebook page. Either one of those, you'll find a lot of support. Again, thanks to our sponsors, WVU Medicine, United Hospital Center, West Virginia University, the State Journal, WVNews.com, and Interaction Media, and their folks who help us each week put on this podcast. We want to remind you that next week it's going to be our repeat guests. Amy, did you hear about that?
I did, yes.
Bring back Abby and Krista Arnold, Abby Viegel and Krista Arnold, who are leaders of Healthy Bridgeport and have had great success. They're going to talk about taking some of the elements of their program countywide so that more communities, more neighborhoods around the Clarksburg area can take advantage of what they've been able to do. So Abby and Krista, next week, we hope you'll join us. We're going to continue to find ways to inspire you to live life better and to live life healthy. Thanks again to Carl and Brian. Thanks to all of you for joining us. See you next week.
Goodbye.